Welcome back to Elena's Love Lounge. When we last saw Sophia Hart, she had finally returned to the safety of her father's estate, trading a Target maternity dress for the emerald silk of a billionaire heir. But the peace of the Hart estate is about to be shattered. We are standing in the hallowed, wood-panelled halls of the Hartford County Family Court. Liam Crawford, the man who forced his 8 months pregnant wife to sign divorce papers while his family laughed and toasted to her destruction, now sits across the aisle. He isn't here for his daughter, Grace. He is here for the $47 billion he realized he lost the moment his signatures hit the page. Tonight, secrets are unmasked. Mistress turned assistant Amber Reeves faces the light, and a judge must decide. Does a father who abandons his child before she is born deserve a seat at the table of a dynasty? If you haven't seen part 1, stop now and catch up. For everyone else, breathe deep. The trial of the century begins now. Like this video to stand with Sophia. The courtroom smells like old wood and broken promises. Sophia notices this as she walks through the double doors of Hartford County Family Court, her hand gripping Marcus Chen's arm like it's the only thing keeping her upright. 7 days have passed since Christmas Eve. 7 days of preparation, strategy sessions, and sleepless nights imagining this moment. Now it's here. The courtroom is smaller than she expected. Not the grand theatrical space from legal dramas, but an intimate room with blonde wood paneling and fluorescent lights that wash everything in harsh, unforgiving clarity. Rows of benches sit mostly empty. Marcus made sure this hearing was closed to the public, but that doesn't stop the tension from feeling suffocating. Judge Maria Hernandez sits at the bench, reviewing documents with reading glasses perched on her nose. She's younger than Sophia imagined, maybe early 50s, with dark hair pulled into a severe bun and an expression that suggests she's already tired of whatever drama is about to unfold. And there, at the plaintiff's table, sits Liam. Sophia's breath catches despite 7 days of mental preparation. He looks terrible dark circles under his eyes, his suit rumpled like he slept in it, his hair uncombed. The confident architect who once sketched dreams on napkins has been replaced by something desperate and diminished. But it's his eyes that stop her. When Liam looks up and sees Sophia, his expression cycles through relief, hope, longing, and finally something that might be genuine regret. He half rises from his chair like he's going to approach her, but his attorney, a sharp-faced woman in her 40s named Patricia Wells, puts a hand on his arm and pulls him back down. "Don't," Wells says, loud enough for Sophia to hear. "Don't make this worse." Sophia lets Marcus guide her to the defendant's table. She sits carefully, her 8.5-month pregnant belly making every movement awkward. The baby Grace has been especially active this morning, like she knows something important is happening. Vincent Hart sits in the front row behind Sophia, a silent pillar of support. He hasn't said a word since they left the estate, but his presence is enough. A reminder that she's not alone in this. That she's never been alone, even when she thought she was. "All rise," the bailiff announces. The Honourable Judge Maria Hernandez presiding. Everyone stands. Sophia struggles to her feet, and she sees Liam's hands twitch like he wants to help her, like he has any right to help her anymore. Judge Hernandez settles into her chair and surveys the courtroom with the efficient gaze of someone who's seen every human drama play out in this space and has no patience for theatrics. "Be seated," she says, her voice carrying authority, without being harsh. "We're here today for an emergency custody petition filed by Liam Crawford regarding a minor child not yet born to Sophia Hart, formerly Sophia Crawford, now reverting to her maiden name." She looks up from her papers, her gaze moving between Liam and Sophia. "Let me be clear from the start," Judge Hernandez continues. "I don't typically entertain custody disputes for unborn children. The fact that I'm hearing this case at all is due to the unusual circumstances surrounding the dissolution of this marriage. Mr. Crawford's attorney has made serious allegations about Miss Hart's fitness as a mother. This hearing will determine if those allegations have merit." She turns to Patricia Wells. "Miss Wells, you have the floor. Make your case." Wells stands, smoothing her skirt with practiced precision. She's good, Sophia realizes, with a sinking feeling. The kind of lawyer who knows how to perform for judges, who understands that family court is as much about emotion as evidence. Your Honor, Wells begins, her voice measured and reasonable. My client is here today, not out of spite or revenge, but out of genuine concern for his unborn daughter. Sophia Hart, formerly Crawford, has demonstrated a pattern of deception, emotional instability, and questionable judgment that raises serious doubts about her ability to provide a safe, stable environment for a child. Sophia's hands clench in her lap. Marcus places a gentle hand over hers. Steady, his touch says. Let her talk. We knew this was coming. Miss Hart concealed her true identity throughout her entire relationship with my client, Wells continues, pacing in front of the judge's bench, like a professor delivering a lecture. She presented herself as a struggling substitute teacher named Sophia Williams, when in reality, she's the heir to a multi-billion-dollar fortune. This deception went on for 4 years. 4 years of lying about who she was, where she came from, what resources she had access to. Wells pauses for effect. Your Honor, if Miss Hart is willing to deceive the man she married about something as fundamental as her identity, what else is she willing to lie about? What kind of example does that set for a child? Judge Hernandez's expression doesn't change, but she makes a note on her pad. Furthermore, Wells says, warming to her argument, when this deception was finally revealed, Miss Hart's father, Vincent Hart, CEO of Hart Technologies, launched what can only be described as a vindictive campaign of destruction against my client's family. Within hours of the marriage ending, the Crawford family lost their home, their jobs, their social standing, all because Miss Hart couldn't handle the emotional reality of a divorce. Objection. Marcus is on his feet, his voice cutting through Wells' monologue. Counsel is mischaracterizing the timeline and causation. The business decisions made by Hart Technologies were based on contract violations, not personal vendetta. Sustained, Judge Hernandez says. Miss Wells, stick to facts relevant to custody. Mr. Hart's business decisions aren't on trial here. Wells nods, unbothered. Of course, Your Honor. Let me focus on Miss Hart's behavior on the night of December 24th. According to multiple witnesses, after signing divorce papers, Miss Hart became so distraught that she collapsed in the snow outside the Crawford residence. She was found on her knees in freezing temperatures, 8 months pregnant, unable to stand without assistance. Sophia's cheeks burn. The way Wells describes it makes her sound hysterical, unbalanced. Not like a woman who'd just endured hours of public humiliation while pregnant. Security footage shows Miss Hart remaining in this state for nearly 15 minutes before her father arrived. Wells continues, 15 minutes in December, cold, pregnant, on her knees. That's not the behavior of someone equipped to make sound decisions about a child's welfare. Your Honor, Marcus starts, but Judge Hernandez holds up a hand. I'll hear Mr. Crawford's testimony, the judge says. Mr. Crawford, please take the stand. Liam stands on shaking legs and makes his way to the witness box. He's sworn in, his hand trembling on the Bible, his voice barely audible as he promises to tell the truth. Patricia Wells approaches him with the careful gentleness of a therapist, not a lawyer. Mr. Crawford, can you describe your relationship with Sophia Hart? Liam's eyes find Sophia's across the courtroom. I loved her, he says, and his voice cracks. I loved her more than anything. When I met her 4 years ago, she was everything I'd ever wanted. Kind, passionate about helping people. Real, you know? In a world full of fake people, she felt real. Sophia's throat tightens despite herself. We got married because I wanted to spend my life with her, Liam continues. I wanted to build something together. A family. A future. I didn't care that she was a substitute teacher, that she drove an old car, that she couldn't afford expensive things. I loved who she was. He pauses, and Wells prompts gently. When did things change? When my architecture firm started failing, Liam says. I'd put everything into it. All my savings, all my hopes, and when it collapsed, I felt like a failure. Sophia offered to help, but I couldn't accept it. My pride wouldn't let me take money from my wife. You didn't take money from your wife because you didn't know she had any, Sophia thinks but doesn't say. Then my mother started questioning things, Liam continues, asking why Sophia never talked about her family, why we had such a small wedding, why she seemed so secretive about her past. And I started wondering too. Started questioning if the woman I married was who she said she was. And was she? Wells asks. No. The word lands like a stone. She was lying to me the entire time. She was a billionaire's daughter playing dress-up, pretending to be poor, testing me like I was some kind of social experiment. Sophia's hands clench so hard, her nails dig into her palms. Marcus leans over and whispers, "Let him talk. Let him show the judge who he really is." "How did you feel when you discovered the truth?" Wells asks. "Betrayed," Liam says immediately. "Like our entire marriage was built on a lie. Like I never really knew her at all. And I started thinking about our baby, about how I'd be tied to this woman who deceived me for years, about how she might use her father's money to take my daughter away from me." "Is that what you're afraid of?" Wells asks. "That Miss Hart will use her resources to cut you out of your daughter's life?" "Yes." Liam's voice breaks. "She's already done it. Her father destroyed my career, took away my home, made sure I can't provide for my child. And now she's sitting there in her mansion, surrounded by lawyers and money, and I'm..." He trails off, his hand coming up to his face. "You're what?" Wells prompts gently. "I'm nothing," Liam whispers. "I have nothing, and she has everything, including my daughter." The courtroom is silent for a long moment. Sophia can feel the narrative shifting, can see Judge Hernandez watching Liam with something that might be sympathy. "Your witness," Wells says to Marcus, satisfaction in her voice. Marcus stands slowly, and something in his posture makes Sophia's pulse quicken. He's not moving like a lawyer, about to cross-examine a witness. He's moving like a predator who spotted wounded prey. "Mr. Crawford," Marcus begins, his voice pleasant, conversational. "You said you loved Sophia for who she was, that you didn't care she was a substitute teacher with an old car. Is that correct?" "Yes," Liam says warily. "And you married her despite your family's concerns that she might be, quote, after the Crawford money, correct?" Liam shifts uncomfortably. "My family had concerns. Yes." "The Crawford money," Marcus repeats. "Which amounted to what? Exactly. What was the Crawford family's net worth when you married Sophia?" Liam's face flushes. "I don't see how that's relevant." "Humour me," Marcus says, his voice still pleasant. "Ballpark figure. What was your family worth?" "Maybe $60,000 in liquid assets," Liam mutters. "I'm sorry, could you speak up for the court?" Marcus asks. $60,000, Liam says louder. 60,000, Marcus repeats. "And your family was concerned that Sophia, a substitute teacher, driving a 2014 Honda, was after that $60,000? They thought she was hiding debt," Liam says defensively. "Hiding something." "Interesting." Marcus picks up a document from his table. "Mr. Crawford, are you aware that your architecture firm, Crawford and Associates, was funded by a $2.3 million investment from Hart Ventures?" Liam's face goes pale. Yes, I found out recently." "And are you aware that this investment was made at Sophia's request? That she specifically asked her father to invest in your dream because she believed in you?" Silence. "Mr. Crawford?" Marcus prompts. "I didn't know that at the time," Liam says quietly. "No, you didn't," Marcus agrees, "because Sophia specifically asked that the investment remain anonymous. She didn't want you to know the money came from her family. She wanted you to succeed on your own merits. Does that sound like someone who was playing games? Or someone who genuinely loved you?" Liam doesn't answer. "Let's talk about the night of December 24th. Marcus continues, his voice hardening now. "You claim Sophia became distraught and collapsed in the snow. Can you describe what happened before that collapse?" "We just signed divorce papers," Liam says. "Where?" "At my parents' house." "During what event?" Liam hesitates. "A Christmas party." "A Christmas party," Marcus repeats. "So you had your 8 months pregnant wife sign divorce papers at a party? In front of guests?" "She agreed to come," Liam says weakly. Did she agree to stand the entire time? Marcus asks. Did she agree to sign legal documents while standing? Because no one offered her a chair. I didn't realize. You didn't realize, Marcus interrupts. Let me show you something, Your Honor. He pulls out a tablet and approaches the bench. Judge Hernandez accepts it, and her expression darkens as she watches whatever is on the screen. What you're seeing, Marcus narrates, is security footage from the Crawford residence, installed by the property owner, Hart Technologies subsidiary, Evergreen Properties, as a condition of the lease agreement. This footage shows Sophia Hart standing at a table for 47 minutes while signing divorce papers. It shows guests laughing. It shows Vanessa Crawford raising a champagne glass and toasting, quote, "To my son's freedom from the gold-digging nobody who trapped him with a pregnancy." Judge Hernandez's head snaps up. Excuse me? That's what she said. Marcus confirms. While Sophia stood there, 8 months pregnant, signing away her marriage. The audio's very clear, Your Honor. Would you like me to play it? Please do, Judge Hernandez says, her voice ice. Marcus taps the tablet, and Vanessa Crawford's voice fills the courtroom. To my son's freedom from the gold-digging nobody who trapped him with a pregnancy. Laughter. Applause. The sound of glasses clinking. Then Sophia's voice, small and broken. I hope she makes you happy. And Liam's response, cold as winter. You can leave now. Jessica and I need to discuss nursery colours. The courtroom is deadly silent. Judge Hernandez sets down the tablet. Mr. Crawford, is that your voice on the recording? Liam's face has gone grey. Yes, but did you tell your pregnant wife to leave so you could discuss nursery colours with your mistress? She wasn't my mistress anymore, Liam says desperately. We were getting divorced. Sophia and I were over. The divorce wasn't final, Marcus interjects. You were still married, still legally bound to the woman you were humiliating in front of your family. He turns back to Liam. Let's talk about that family. You mentioned Amber, Jessica. Amber Reeves, your former assistant. She's also pregnant, correct? Yes, Liam admits. When did your relationship with Miss Reeves begin? Liam's hands grip the arms of the witness chair. 6 months ago. 6 months ago, Marcus repeats. When Sophia was 3 months pregnant with your daughter, you were sleeping with your assistant while your wife was carrying your child. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Marcus's voice cuts like a blade. Did you, or did you not, demand a paternity test because your mother convinced you that Sophia was trying to trap you with another man's baby? Liam's silence is damning. Answer the question, Mr. Crawford, Judge Hernandez says sharply. Yes, Liam whispers. Yes, I demanded a paternity test. And what were the results? The baby is mine. The baby is yours, Marcus repeats. So you humiliated your pregnant wife by questioning her fidelity, discovered the child was definitely yours, and then continued your affair with your assistant, who was also pregnant, with your child. Marcus turns to face Judge Hernandez directly. Your Honor, this man is asking for custody of a daughter he threw away. A daughter whose mother he accused of infidelity, whose existence he celebrated ending at a Christmas party, who he replaced before she was even born. And he's claiming that Sophia Hart, the woman who endured all of this with grace, is the one who's unfit to parent? He walks back to his table and picks up another document. I have here a psychological evaluation of Sophia Hart conducted by Dr. Jennifer Chen, a licensed clinical psychologist who has known Miss Hart since birth. Dr. Chen concludes, and I quote, Miss Hart demonstrates remarkable emotional resilience, strong maternal instincts, and the psychological stability necessary for healthy parenting. Her reactions to marital betrayal and public humiliation were entirely appropriate and within normal range for someone experiencing acute emotional trauma. Marcus sets down the document. Your Honor, this isn't about custody. This is about a man who realized too late what he threw away and is now trying to use the legal system to claw back access to wealth and status he can't get any other way. The best interests of this child are served by remaining with her mother, a woman who has consistently put her daughter first, even when it cost her everything. Judge Hernandez is quiet for a long moment, her eyes moving between Liam and Sophia. "Miss Hart," she says finally, "I'd like to hear from you. Please take the stand." Sophia's heart hammers as she rises from her chair. Her legs feel weak, her hands shake, but she makes it to the witness box without collapsing. The bailiff swears her in, and she sits carefully, her pregnant belly pressed against the railing. Judge Hernandez looks at her with an expression that's hard to read. "Miss Hart, why did you hide your identity from your husband?" Sophia takes a breath. This is it, the question she's been preparing for. "Because I wanted to be loved for who I am," Sophia says, her voice steady despite the fear. "Not for what I could provide. My entire life, people have seen me as Vincent Hart's daughter. As an heir, as access to money and power and connections. I wanted, just once, to know if someone could love me, just me, without all of that." "And did Mr. Crawford love you?" the judge asks. Sophia looks at Liam, really looks at him, at the man she thought she'd spend her life with. "I thought he did," Sophia says quietly. "But I was wrong. He loved what he thought I could become. And when he realized I wasn't going to help him climb higher, that I was just me, he found someone he thought would." "Why didn't you tell him the truth when his firm started failing?" Judge Hernandez asks. "You could have helped him. You had the resources." "I tried to help," Sophia says. "I offered. He refused. Said his pride wouldn't let him take money from his wife. But, Your Honor, I did help anyway. I convinced my father to invest in his firm anonymously. I bought the house the Crawford family lives in through a subsidiary, so they wouldn't know the money came from me. I tried to support him without him knowing I was supporting him." Her voice strengthens. "Because I knew that if he found out who I really was, everything would change. He'd either resent me for having more, or he'd start seeing me as a resource instead of a person. And I was right. The moment he learned the truth, he didn't see a woman he'd wronged. He saw a fortune he'd lost." Judge Hernandez makes another note. "What kind of mother do you plan to be, Miss Hart?" "The kind my mother was," Sophia says immediately. "Loving, present, someone who teaches her daughter that her worth isn't measured in dollars or status or what she can provide to others. Someone who shows her that strength means choosing kindness even when people don't deserve it. That dignity means walking away from cruelty instead of responding with more cruelty." She places her hand on her belly. "My daughter's name is Grace, and I chose that name because I want her to live with grace, to give grace, to understand that being powerful doesn't mean destroying people who hurt you. It means having the strength to heal and move forward." "And Mr. Crawford?" Judge Hernandez asks. "What role do you see him playing in Grace's life?" This is the moment. The answer that will define everything. Sophia looks at Liam one more time, at the man who destroyed her trust, who threw away their family, who's sitting here now trying to use their daughter as a bargaining chip. And she thinks about Grace, about what kind of story her daughter deserves. "I see him having no role," Sophia says finally. "Not because I want revenge, not because I'm vindictive, but because a father who demands paternity tests, who celebrates divorcing his pregnant wife at a Christmas party, who replaces his family before his daughter is even born, that's not a father. That's a liability." Her voice doesn't waver. "Your Honor, I'm not trying to keep Grace from her father. I'm protecting her from a man who's already shown he's willing to abandon her when something better comes along. Today, it's me he's throwing away. Tomorrow, when Grace doesn't serve his purposes anymore, it'll be her." The courtroom is silent. Judge Hernandez sets down her pen and looks at both parties. "I'm ready to make my ruling," she says. And Sophia holds her breath, waiting for her daughter's future to be decided. Judge Maria Hernandez removes her reading glasses with deliberate precision. The gesture is small, almost casual, but something about it makes the entire courtroom hold its breath. Sophia's hand moves to her belly, where Grace kicks insistently, like she knows her fate is being decided in this moment. "I've presided over family court for 17 years. Judge Hernandez begins, her voice carrying the weight of thousands of cases, thousands of broken families, thousands of children caught in the crossfire of adult failures. "I've seen every manipulation, every lie, every desperate attempt to weaponize custody as revenge or leverage or control. She looks at Liam with an expression that could freeze fire. Mr. Crawford, what you're attempting here is one of the most transparent examples of bad faith litigation I've encountered. You're not concerned about your daughter's welfare. You're concerned about losing access to wealth you never knew existed until you'd already thrown away the woman who could have given it to you. Liam's lawyer starts to stand. Your Honor, if I may... You may not. Judge Hernandez cuts her off. Sit down, Miss Wells. The lawyer sits. I've reviewed the evidence presented by both parties. Judge Hernandez continues. The security footage from the Crawford residence, the psychological evaluation, the testimony. And I've reached a conclusion that shouldn't surprise anyone in this room. She turns to Sophia. Miss Hart, you are hereby granted sole legal and physical custody of the minor child, Grace Elizabeth Hart. Mr. Crawford's petition for shared custody is denied in its entirety. Sophia's breath leaves her in a rush. Relief floods through her so powerfully she feels dizzy. But Judge Hernandez isn't finished. Furthermore, the judge continues, her voice hardening, Mr. Crawford is prohibited from contact with Miss Hart or the minor child, except through court-appointed intermediaries. Any attempts at direct contact will be considered harassment and dealt with accordingly. Liam surges to his feet. Your Honor, please. I'm not finished, Judge Hernandez snaps. Sit down. Liam collapses back into his chair like someone cut his strings. Mr. Crawford, let me be very clear about something, the judge says, leaning forward. You do not get to demand paternity tests, publicly humiliate a pregnant woman, celebrate divorcing her at a party, and then waltz into my courtroom claiming parental rights because you realize too late what you threw away. Her voice drops lower, more dangerous. You made choices. You chose your mistress over your wife. You chose your pride over your family. You chose to believe the worst about a woman who was supporting you financially, without your knowledge because she loved you enough to protect your ego. Judge Hernandez picks up the tablet, showing the Christmas party footage, and then you chose to let your mother call that woman a gold-digging nobody while she signed divorce papers standing because no one would offer her a chair. Those choices have consequences, Mr. Crawford. This is one of them. She sets down the tablet with a sharp click. However, because I believe children deserve the opportunity to know their biological parents if they choose to, I'm not terminating your parental rights entirely. When Grace turns 18, if she wishes to establish contact with you, that will be her decision. Until then, you have no rights and no access. Your Honor, that's 20 years, Patricia Wells protests. 18 years, Judge Hernandez corrects coldly. And frankly, Mr. Crawford should consider himself fortunate. I'm not holding him in contempt for wasting this court's time with frivolous litigation designed to harass his ex-wife. She looks at Marcus. Mr. Chen, please prepare an order, consistent with this ruling. I want it filed by end of business today. Yes, Your Honor, Marcus says, and Sophia can hear the satisfaction in his voice. Judge Hernandez turns back to Liam one final time. Mr. Crawford, I strongly suggest you focus on the child you have with Miss Reeves, rather than trying to claim one you've already abandoned. This court is adjourned. The gavel comes down with a crack that sounds like thunder. The hallway outside the courtroom erupts the moment the doors close behind them. Vincent wraps Sophia in a careful hug, mindful of her belly, his hand cradling the back of her head. It's over, sweetheart, he whispers. You're safe. Grace is safe. It's over. Sophia clings to her father, feeling 3 years of fear and pain and uncertainty finally releasing their grip on her chest. She's crying, but these are different tears, clean tears, the kind that wash away instead of drowning. Thank you, she manages. Dad, thank you for... No thanks needed, Vincent interrupts gently. This is what family does. Marcus is already on his phone, barking orders to someone about filing the custody order and preparing injunctions against any further harassment. His efficiency is almost beautiful, a man who turns legal protection into an art form. The courtroom doors open again, and Liam stumbles out with Patricia Wells at his elbow. He looks destroyed, not the controlled devastation from the Christmas party, but something rawer, more complete. He sees Sophia, and starts toward her. Vincent's security team, because of course they're here, discreet but present, moves to intercept. But Vincent holds up a hand. "Let him speak," he says quietly. "Sophia deserves to hear whatever he thinks he needs to say." Liam stops 3 feet away, kept at distance by 2 very large men in very expensive suits. "Sophia," he says, and his voice is wrecked. "Please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake." "You made 100 mistakes," Sophia interrupts, surprised by how steady her voice sounds. "And you only started counting them when you realized what they cost you." "I loved you," Liam says desperately. "I still love you. We can fix this. We can—" "No, we can't." Sophia's hand moves to her belly. "Liam, you didn't love me. You loved the idea of me, the version that existed in your head. The woman who needed you, who looked up to you, who made you feel important." She takes a breath. "But I was never that woman. I was just Sophia, trying to find out if someone could love me without wanting something from me. And you couldn't. The moment loving me became inconvenient, the moment your firm failed and your ego got bruised, you found someone else." "That's not fair," Liam starts. "You demanded a paternity test," Sophia says, and the words stop him cold. "You looked at me pregnant with your daughter, sleeping in your bed, wearing your ring, and you thought I was capable of trapping you with another man's baby. That's who you are, Liam. That's who you've always been. I just didn't see it because I didn't want to." Liam's face crumbles. "The baby. At least let me see her. Let me be her father. Please." "Sophia. She's mine too." "She's mine," Sophia corrects quietly. "She's mine because I'm the one who will be there every day. Who will change diapers at 3 a.m. and soothe her through nightmares and teach her that she's valuable beyond what she can provide to others. You threw away that right when you threw away me. You can't just erase me from her life." "I'm not erasing you," Sophia says. "I'm protecting her from you. There's a difference." She looks at him one final time, really looks, and tries to find any trace of the man she fell in love with. The man who sketched dreams and talked about helping people and promised her a life built on something real. He's not there. Maybe he never was. Maybe she invented him because she needed to believe in something pure. "Goodbye, Liam," Sophia says. "I hope you and Amber are happy together. I hope you're a better father to your son than you were a husband to me. I genuinely hope you learn from this." She turns away, and Vincent's hand is there to steady her, to guide her toward the elevators, toward escape, toward freedom. "Sophia, wait!" Liam's voice cracks across the hallway. "You're making a mistake. She's my daughter too. I have rights." Judge Hernandez's voice cuts through from the doorway. "Mr. Crawford, did you miss the part where I said no contact? Would you like me to add a restraining order to that custody ruling?" Liam falls silent. Sophia doesn't look back as the elevator doors close. The ride down feels like descending from one world into another. In the courtroom, Sophia was a defendant fighting for her daughter. In this elevator, she's just a woman who won something she shouldn't have had to fight for in the first place. "How do you feel?" Vincent asks quietly. Sophia considers the question. How does she feel? Relieved. Certainly. Vindicated. Protected. But underneath all of that, something else lingers. Something that tastes like grief. "I feel sad," she says finally. "Is that strange? I won. Grace is safe. Liam can't touch us. But I feel sad." "Not strange at all," Vincent says gently. "You're mourning what you thought you had, the life you tried to build. That's allowed, sweetheart. Winning doesn't erase the pain of what you lost." The elevator opens into the courthouse lobby, and chaos erupts. Reporters surge forward like a wave, cameras flashing, microphones thrust towards Sophia's face, voices shouting questions that blend into incomprehensible noise. "Miss Hart, how do you feel about the custody ruling? Is it true your father destroyed the Crawford family financially? Do you have any regrets about hiding your identity? What do you want to say to women in similar situations?" Vincent's security team forms a protective barrier, moving with practiced efficiency to clear a path toward the waiting SUVs. Marcus appears at Sophia's other side, his hand on her elbow, guiding her through the crowd. "No comment," Marcus says firmly to every question. Miss Hart has no statement at this time. But one reporter breaks through the line. A young woman, maybe 25, with determination in her eyes that reminds Sophia of herself at that age. Miss Hart, she calls out, her voice rising above the others. Do you think your father's money bought this outcome? Do you think a poor woman would have won custody under the same circumstances? The question stops Sophia in her tracks. It's not hostile. Not really. It's honest. The kind of question that cuts through narratives to expose uncomfortable truths. Marcus tries to pull her forward. Sophia, we need to go. No, Sophia says quietly. I want to answer. She turns to face the reporter, and the crowd falls silent, sensing something unexpected is about to happen. You're right to ask that question, Sophia says, her voice carrying across the lobby. And the honest answer is I don't know. Maybe my father's resources made a difference. Maybe having Marcus Chen as my lawyer instead of a public defender changed the outcome. Maybe the judge saw me differently because I was wearing expensive clothes and sitting in a courtroom I could afford to spend all day in instead of juggling 3 jobs. She pauses, one hand on her belly where Grace kicks. But here's what I know for certain. I shouldn't have needed my father's money to prove I'm a fit mother. I shouldn't have needed expensive lawyers to show that a man who demanded paternity tests and celebrated divorcing me at a Christmas party isn't entitled to custody. Those facts should speak for themselves regardless of who can afford better representation. Sophia's voice strengthens. So yes, maybe money helped me today. But that's not a celebration, it's an indictment of a system that makes justice more accessible to people who can pay for it. And if my story, my privilege, can shine a light on that inequality, then maybe something good can come from all this pain. The reporter looks stunned. Several other journalists are frantically typing on phones, already crafting headlines. Vincent's hand squeezes Sophia's shoulder gently. That's enough, sweetheart. Let's go home. This time, Sophia lets him guide her through the crowd and into the waiting SUV. The door closes on the chaos, and suddenly, everything is quiet. Leather seats, and tinted windows, and blessed silence. Sophia leans her head back and closes her eyes. That was a good answer, Vincent says after a moment. Your mother would be proud. Would she? Sophia asks. Mum never wanted this life. The spotlight, the scrutiny, the way every decision gets analysed and weaponized. No, Vincent agrees, but she always wanted you to use your voice, to recognise that privilege is only meaningful if you leverage it, to help people who don't have it. He's quiet for a moment. Catherine used to say that being born wealthy is an accident of fate, but staying wealthy while others suffer is a choice. She believed we had a responsibility to make that choice matter. Sophia opens her eyes and looks at her father, really looks at him, at the man who built an empire but never forgot where he came from, who wields power like a scalpel when his family is threatened but understands the difference between justice and revenge. What happens to the Crawford family now? She asks. Vincent's expression is carefully neutral. That depends on them. Dad. He sighs. They've lost the house foreclosure proceedings started this week. Vanessa's position at the hospital is gone. Adrian's consulting contracts dried up when companies realised he had no actual expertise, just Hart Foundation connections. Julian is working retail, last I heard. Rachel moved back in with her parents until she couldn't take the fighting anymore. And Liam? Liam is living in a 1-bedroom apartment in East Hartford, working 60 hours a week between 3 different jobs to support Amber and their son. She left him after 2 months, when she realised the money was never coming back. Now she's suing for child support he can't afford to pay. The information lands like stones in Sophia's stomach. Yes, they were cruel. Yes, they hurt her. But this? Complete destruction? Is that what you wanted? Vincent asks gently, reading her expression. When you asked me to make them understand consequences, is this what you pictured? Sophia thinks about Christmas Eve, about signing divorce papers while standing, about Vanessa's champagne toast and Liam's cold dismissal and the laughter that followed her into the snow. She thinks about who she was in that moment, broken, humiliated, convinced she was nothing. And she thinks about who she is now, a mother about to bring new life into the world, someone who survived betrayal and chose healing over bitterness. No, she says quietly. This isn't what I wanted. I wanted them to understand that cruelty has consequences. But I didn't want to become the thing that destroyed them. She looks at her father. Can we stop? Not undo everything they made their choices, and some consequences are appropriate, but can we stop making it worse? Vincent studies her face for a long moment. Then he pulls out his phone and makes a call. Howard, he says when someone answers. The Crawford situation. I want you to cease any ongoing actions. No more contract terminations. No more pressure on their employers. No more anything. What's done is done. Let them rebuild from here. A pause. Yes, I'm sure. My daughter asked me to stop, so we stop. That's the end of it. He hangs up and looks at Sophia. Done. Just like that? Sophia asks. Just like that, Vincent confirms. I told you once this was never about revenge. It was about protection. About making sure they understood they couldn't hurt you without consequences. They understand now. The rest is up to them. The SUV glides through Hartford streets, past courthouses and office buildings, and the machinery of power that Sophia has access to, by accident of birth. She watches people on sidewalks, living their lives, fighting their own battles without the safety net she's always had. I want to do something, she says suddenly. Do what? Vincent asks. Something meaningful. With the privilege I have, Mum would have wanted that, right? She'd want me to use what I was given to help people. Sophia's hand moves to her belly. I want Grace to grow up knowing that our wealth is a responsibility, not just an inheritance. That we have an obligation to make the world better, not just profit from it. Vincent's eyes shine with tears he doesn't hide. Tell me what you're thinking. A foundation, Sophia says, the idea taking shape as she speaks. For women going through custody battles who can't afford good lawyers. For single mothers who need childcare so they can work. For families struggling with legal fees. That shouldn't determine whether they keep their children. She looks at her father. I don't know all the details yet, but I know I don't want what happened to me, the fact that I had resources and support and protection, to be a privilege. I want it to be a right. For everyone. Vincent reaches over and takes her hand. Then we'll make it happen. Together. You, me, and Grace. We'll build something your mother would be proud of. The SUV turns onto the private road leading to the Hart estate, and Sophia sees the gates ahead. Home. Safety. A place where her daughter will be born into wealth and comfort and every advantage. But also, if Sophia has anything to say about it, into responsibility, into understanding, that privilege without purpose is just selfishness with better furniture. Her phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. Sophia almost ignores it. She's blocked Liam and all the Crawfords, has no interest in whatever new manipulation might be coming her way. But something makes her look. Unknown. 2:47 p.m. This is Amber. I know you have no reason to care, but I thought you should know Liam's not okay. He's drinking too much. Not sleeping. Talking about ending it. I'm not asking you to do anything. Just, I thought you should know. He's the father of my son. And despite everything, I don't want him dead. Sophia stares at the message for a long moment. Liam, broken and desperate, and talking about ending it. The man who destroyed her, now destroying himself. The father of 2 children who both deserve better than what he's become. She could ignore this. Could let Liam spiral and tell herself it's not her problem anymore. That he made his bed and now he has to lie in it. But Grace kicks inside her, strong and insistent. And Sophia thinks about what kind of story she wants her daughter to inherit. Dad, she says quietly, I need you to do something for me. Vincent looks at her with an expression that says he already knows what she's going to ask and is prepared to argue against it. Don't, Sophia says before he can speak. Don't tell me I'm being too soft or too forgiving or that he doesn't deserve my compassion. I know all of that, but I need you to do this anyway. What do you need? Vincent asks carefully. Sophia shows him Amber's message, watches his expression harden as he reads it. I need you to make sure Liam gets help, Sophia says. Real help. Therapy, substance abuse, treatment, whatever he needs. Pay for it anonymously if you want. Make it a condition of something I don't care. But don't let him kill himself, because his pride destroyed his life. Sophia, Grace deserves to know her father existed and got help when he needed it. Sophia interrupts. Not that he destroyed himself, and I did nothing. I'm not doing this for Liam, Dad. I'm doing this for her. For the story she'll carry about who her mother is. Vincent is quiet for a long moment. Then he nods. I'll handle it, he says. But Sophia, I want you to understand something. You can give Liam help. You can make sure he doesn't hurt himself. But you can't make him accept it. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. I know, Sophia says, but at least I'll know I tried. The SUV pulls through the estate gates, and Sophia sees Mrs. Chen waiting at the front entrance. The housekeeper's face breaks into a smile when she sees them, and she's already moving forward to wrap Sophia in a hug before the car fully stops. You won, Mrs. Chen says, her voice thick with emotion. Oh, Miss Sophia, you won. We won, Sophia corrects gently. All of us, because none of this happens without family. She lets Mrs. Chen guide her inside, into warmth and safety and home. Behind them, somewhere across the city, Liam Crawford sits in a one-bedroom apartment and stares at a phone that won't ring, at custody papers that say he has no rights, at a future that looks nothing like what he imagined when he sketched dreams on napkins 4 years ago. He doesn't know yet that help is coming, that the woman he threw away is ensuring he gets the support he needs despite everything he did to her. He just knows he lost everything. And sometimes, that knowledge is the first step toward building something real. But that's his journey now. Sophia's journey is different. Hers is about grace, about healing, about building a life where money is a tool for good instead of a weapon or a test. And as she walks through the Hart estate toward the nursery her father built out of hope, Sophia feels something she hasn't felt in years. Not happiness, not yet, but peace. The kind of peace that comes from surviving something that tried to destroy you and choosing to build something beautiful from the ashes. Grace kicks one more time, and Sophia smiles. Welcome to your life, little one, she whispers. It's going to be extraordinary. 3 weeks pass, like pages in a book Sophia never wanted to read, but can't seem to close. She spends them in a strange liminal space, too pregnant to move comfortably, too close to her due date to venture far from the estate, suspended between her old life and the new one about to begin. The nursery sits ready and waiting, a perfect yellow sanctuary that somehow makes the anticipation both better and worse. Dr. Chen visits twice a week now, monitoring Grace's position, her heartbeat, the signs that labor could start any moment. She's stubborn, Doctor, Chen says with a smile after the latest examination. Just like her mother, she'll come when she's ready, not a moment before. Sophia sits in the window seat of her bedroom, her favorite spot, the place where she can watch snow melt from the estate gardens and pretend the world outside these gates doesn't exist. When Mrs. Chen knocks softly on the door. Miss Sophia, you have a visitor. Sophia's hand tightens on the book she's not really reading. Who? Mrs. Chen's expression is carefully neutral. Liam Crawford. He's at the gate. Security won't let him through, but he's asking to speak with you. Says it's important. The name hits Sophia like a punch, despite 3 weeks of distance. 3 weeks since the courthouse. 3 weeks since Judge Hernandez ruled in her favor. 3 weeks of believing she'd never have to face him again. Tell security to send him away, Sophia says, automatically. But Mrs. Chen doesn't move. He looks unwell, Miss Sophia. Thin, tired. The security team says he's been standing there for 2 hours, in the cold. Sophia's first instinct is to say she doesn't care, that Liam's well-being stopped being her concern the moment he told her to leave so he could discuss nursery colours with his mistress. That 2 hours in the cold is nothing compared to what he put her through. But Grace kicks hard, insistent, and Sophia thinks about the text from Amber, about her father arranging treatment, about the kind of person she wants to be. Is my father home? Sophia asks. In his study, Mrs. Chen confirms. Tell him what's happening. Tell him I want to speak with Liam, but only if security stays present and my father is listening on the intercom system. I won't be alone with him. Mrs. Chen nods and disappears. 10 minutes later, she returns with Vincent, whose expression suggests he thinks this is a terrible idea, but is willing to let Sophia make her own choices. "You don't have to do this," Vincent says quietly. "You won the custody battle. You have legal protection. You owe him nothing, Sophia." "I know," Sophia says, "but I need to hear what he thinks is so important that he's been standing in the cold for 2 hours. And then I need to close this door permanently. I can't do that if I always wonder what he wanted to say." Vincent studies her face, then nods. "I'll be in my study. One word from you, and security removes him. Understood?" "Understood." 20 minutes later, Liam Crawford stands in the Hart Estate's formal receiving room, a space designed to intimidate, with soaring ceilings and art that costs more than most houses. He looks exactly as Mrs. Chen described: thin, exhausted, wearing a coat that's seen better days, over clothes that don't quite fit anymore. But it's his eyes that stop Sophia. They're hollow, haunted, the eyes of someone who's looked into an abyss and seen themselves staring back. 2 security guards stand at the doors. Vincent's voice comes through discreetly hidden speakers, monitoring but not interfering. Sophia sits in a wingback chair, positioned carefully so she doesn't have to stand 9 months pregnant now, due any day, her body preparing for the battle of bringing grace into the world. "You have 15 minutes, Sophia says without preamble. "Say what you came to say." Liam stands in the center of the room looking lost, out of place. A man who once belonged in spaces like this, or thought he did, now clearly recognizing he doesn't, will never belong. Has burned every bridge that might have connected him to this world. "Thank you for seeing me," he starts, his voice rough, like he hasn't used it properly in days. "I know you didn't have to." 14 minutes, Sophia interrupts. Liam flinches. "Right, okay, He runs a hand through hair that needs cutting, and Sophia notices his hand shake slightly. "I wanted to apologize. Really apologize. Not the desperate sorry from the courthouse. Not the panic sorry when I realized what I'd lost. A real apology." He takes a breath. "I was wrong. About everything. About questioning the paternity. About the affair with Amber. About letting my mother treat you the way she did. About making you sign divorce papers at that party. About..." His voice breaks. "About not seeing what I had until it was gone." "Ah." Sophia's expression doesn't change. "Go on." "I've been in therapy," Liam continues, the words coming faster now, like he's afraid he'll lose courage. "Someone I don't know who paid for me to go to this facility. A good one. I've been there for 2 weeks, and it's been brutal, Sophia. Having to look at who I became, what I did to you, to us." He moves closer, and the security guards tense. Liam stops immediately, raising his hands. "I'm not here to ask for anything," he says quickly. "I know the custody ruling stands. I know I have no rights to grace. I'm not trying to change that. I needed you to know that I understand now. I understand what I threw away." "Do you?" Sophia asks, her voice flat. "Do you understand, Liam? Or do you understand that you lost access to billions of dollars? Because from where I'm sitting, those look like very different things." Liam's face crumbles. "That's fair. You're right to question that, and I don't know if I can prove the difference to you. But, Sophia, these past 3 weeks, I've had nothing. No money, no status, no prospects, just me, and the wreckage of every choice I made. And you know what I think about?" He doesn't wait for her to answer. "Not the fortune I could have had. Not the connections or the lifestyle or the Hart name. I think about you reading to our baby. About the way you used to fall asleep on my shoulder watching movies. About how you'd get this look on your face when you talked about your students. Like you genuinely believed you could change their lives, one kid at a time." His voice drops to a whisper. "I think about the woman I fell in love with. Not Vincent Hart's daughter. Just Sophia. And I realize that I had something real, something precious, and I destroyed it because I was too insecure to believe it could be mine without strings attached." Sophia's hand moves to her belly where Grace is still, listening, maybe, taking in the voice of the father who will be a stranger to her. "That's a very pretty speech," Sophia says, Your therapist must be good. Liam flinches like she slapped him. It's not a speech. It's the truth. Then let me tell you another truth, Sophia says, leaning forward as much as her pregnant belly allows. You don't get to feel better by apologizing to me. You don't get absolution because you finally recognize what you did. That's not how this works, Liam. Her voice hardens. You demanded a paternity test. You looked at me carrying your daughter, sleeping in your bed, wearing your ring, and you thought I was capable of trapping you with another man's baby. That wasn't a mistake. That was who you are when you're scared and insecure. That's who you become when things don't go your way. I know, Liam starts. I'm not finished, Sophia interrupts. You let your mother call me a gold-digging nobody at a Christmas party. You stood there while she toasted, to my humiliation. You told me to leave so you could discuss nursery colours with the woman you'd been sleeping with for months. And then, only then, after all of that, you learned who I really was. She pauses, letting the words land. And suddenly, magically, you realised you'd made a mistake. Not when you hurt me, not when you betrayed me, not when you threw away our family, but when you realised what that family was worth in dollars and cents. That's not fair, Liam says, his voice breaking. I was wrong about the timing, yes, but I would have realised eventually. Would you? Sophia challenges. Would you have realised if I was actually poor? If I really was just a substitute teacher, driving a 2014 Honda? Would you be standing here apologising? Or would you be with Amber, celebrating your upgrade? Liam opens his mouth, closes it, opens it again. No answer exists that doesn't condemn him. That's what I thought, Sophia says quietly. She stands slowly, one hand on the chair arm for balance, and walks to the window. The Hart estate gardens stretch out below, paths she'll walk with Grace someday, teaching her daughter about growth and seasons and the way things die back only to bloom again stronger. I don't hate you, Liam, Sophia says to the window, to the gardens, to the future only she can see. I did, for a while. I hated you so much I could taste it. But hate takes energy I need for Grace now, so I've let it go. She turns back to face him, but letting go of hate doesn't mean forgetting what you did. It doesn't mean accepting your apology, or giving you closure, or making you feel better about the choices that led us here. Then what can I do? Liam asks desperately. How do I make this right? You can't, Sophia says simply. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You can't make this right, Liam. You can only live with it. You can be a better person going forward. You can be a good father to Amber's son, to your son. You can learn from this, and never do it to anyone else. But you can't fix what you broke between us. That's gone. Liam's face is wet now, tears streaming down his cheeks without any attempt to hide them. I love you, he whispers. I know I don't deserve to. I know it doesn't change anything. But I love you, Sophia. I think I always will. No, you don't, Sophia says gently, and the kindness in her voice is somehow more devastating than anger would be. You love what I represented. You love the idea of what we could have been. But Liam, you didn't love me. If you'd loved me, you would have fought for me. You would have defended me to your mother. You would have believed me when I said the baby was yours. She walks back to her chair and sits carefully. Love isn't what you feel when everything is perfect. It's what you do when things are hard. And when things got hard, you ran straight to someone else. The intercom crackles slightly. Vincent's presence. A reminder that Sophia isn't alone in this. That she's protected. Your 15 minutes are up, Sophia says. Is there anything else? Liam looks at her belly, at Grace growing inside the woman he threw away. His expression is naked with longing and regret, and the terrible knowledge that he'll never hold his daughter, never watch her grow, never be part of the life that could have been his. Can I, his voice breaks, can I say something to her? To Grace? Just once? Sophia's hand moves protectively to her belly. Every instinct screams no, screams that he doesn't deserve even this, that he gave up the right to speak to Grace when he celebrated divorcing her mother. But she thinks about the story Grace will inherit, about the day Grace turns 18 and asks about her father, about what Sophia wants to be able to say. 1 minute, Sophia says. Say what you need to say, then leave, and don't come back. Liam drops to his knees. Not dramatically, not performatively, but like his legs simply stopped working. He stays there, 10 feet from Sophia, speaking to a daughter who exists in potential and will never know his voice. Grace, he says, and his voice is wrecked. I'm your father. I know you'll never know me, and that's my fault. Your mother is the strongest, kindest, most incredible woman I've ever met, and I threw her away because I was weak and stupid and scared. He wipes his eyes with shaking hands. I want you to know that my failures don't define you. You're going to grow up with everything I could never give you, not just money, though you'll have that, but love. Real love. The kind that shows up every day. The kind your mother and grandfather know how to give. His voice drops to a whisper. I'm so sorry I won't be there to see the person you become, but I know you'll be extraordinary. Because you're half your mother, and she's the most extraordinary person I've ever known. Liam stands slowly, his legs trembling. He looks at Sophia one last time, and something passes between them. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but perhaps understanding. The acknowledgement that they both lived through something that changed them irrevocably, even if the changes took them in opposite directions. Goodbye, Sophia, Liam says. Goodbye, Liam, Sophia replies. He walks to the door, and the security guards move to escort him out. But at the threshold, he turns back one more time. For what it's worth, he says quietly, I'm glad Grace will have you. I'm glad she'll grow up knowing what real strength looks like, what real love looks like, even if it means she never knows me. Then he's gone, escorted back through the Hart estate, past gardens and fountains and the visible manifestation of everything he gambled and lost. The door closes with a solid thunk that sounds like finality. Sophia sits alone in the receiving room, one hand on her belly, feeling Grace kick. The intercom crackles. Are you okay? Vincent's voice, gentle with concern. I'm okay, Sophia says, and realizes it's true. I'm actually okay, Dad. I'm proud of you, Vincent says. That couldn't have been easy. It wasn't, Sophia admits, but it was necessary. Now it's really over. Now I can close that door and lock it. She stands and walks to the window again, watching Liam's figure disappear down the long driveway toward the gate, toward a life that will be harder than he ever imagined, toward consequences that will shape him in ways he can't predict. But that's not her burden anymore. Her burden is Grace, is building a life that teaches her daughter about strength and kindness and the difference between revenge and justice, about how to wield power without becoming cruel, about how to survive betrayal and choose healing. Mrs. Chen appears in the doorway. Miss Sophia, Dr. Chen is here for your appointment, and she says you should probably start thinking about packing a hospital bag. Grace could come any day now. Sophia's hand moves to her belly, to the life about to begin. Tell her I'll be right there, Sophia says. She takes one last look out the window, at the estate, where her daughter will be born into wealth, and privilege, and responsibility. At the gardens where they'll walk together someday, talking about hard things in a world that won't always be kind. But also talking about hope, about resilience, about the way some endings are really just beginnings in disguise. Sophia leaves the receiving room and doesn't look back. Behind her, the space where Liam stood feels empty, ghost-like, the echo of something that once seemed important, but has already faded to memory. And in front of her, up the stairs toward the nursery, painted soft yellow, her future waits. Grace kicks one more time, impatient. I know, baby, Sophia whispers. I know, any day now. And then our real story begins. She climbs the stairs slowly, one hand on the railing, one hand on her belly. Below, in his study, Vincent makes a phone call. Marcus, Liam Crawford just left the estate. I want you to file an addendum to the custody order. Full restraining order. He doesn't come within a mile of Sophia or Grace ever again. I don't care. If he meant well today, he doesn't get to keep showing up, trying to ease his conscience. A pause. No. Sophia doesn't need to know. She's done carrying the weight of his guilt. Let me carry it for her. Vincent hangs up and pulls out another phone. This one connects directly to the facility where Liam has been receiving treatment. This is Vincent Hart. I want to extend funding for Crawford's treatment indefinitely. Whatever he needs, therapy, addiction, counselling, job training, housing assistance. But there's a condition. He pauses, his voice hardening. He never contacts my daughter again. Never. If he wants to heal, if he wants to rebuild his life, I'll help him do it. But that help comes with absolute separation from Sophia and Grace. Make sure he understands. Make sure it's part of his treatment plan. He gets better by letting them go, not by seeking closure he doesn't deserve. Vincent ends the call and sits in his study, looking at photographs of Sophia and Catherine, of the family he's fought to protect, of the granddaughter about to enter a world that will test her in ways he can't anticipate. But she'll have something Liam never did. She'll have family. Real family. The kind that shows up when things are hard. The kind that protects without smothering. The kind that teaches you your worth isn't measured in what you can provide, but in who you choose to be. Grace Elizabeth Hart will know that from her first breath. And Liam Crawford will spend the rest of his life knowing what he could have had if he'd been brave enough to believe in it. That's not revenge, Vincent thinks. That's just truth. The kind of truth that hurts worse than any punishment ever could. Grace Elizabeth Hart arrives on a Sunday morning, when the world is soft with new snow. Sophia's water breaks at 4:17 a.m., a sudden rush that wakes her from dreams about gardens and daughter's laughter and futures she's been afraid to imagine too clearly. She lies still for a moment, feeling the wetness, feeling the first whisper of a contraction, feeling everything change in the space between one breath and the next. "Dad," she calls out, her voice surprisingly steady. "Dad, it's time." What follows is controlled chaos. Vincent appearing in her doorway in seconds, like he's been waiting for this moment. Mrs. Chen materializing with the hospital bag they packed last week. "Doctor." Chen called, and already en route to Hartford Memorial. The SUVs warming up in the driveway. Security team deployed. A family mobilizing around the arrival of new life. Labor is everything Sophia expected, and nothing like she imagined. 17 hours of pain that rewrites her understanding of her own body. 17 hours of Vincent holding her hand through contractions, whispering encouragement, being the steady presence her mother would have been if cancer hadn't stolen that possibility. 17 hours of Mrs. Chen bringing ice chips and speaking in Mandarin the prayers her own grandmother taught her. 17 hours of Dr. Chen monitoring, adjusting, guiding. And then, at 9:43 p.m., Grace announces her arrival with a cry that sounds like accusation and triumph all at once. "She's perfect," Dr. Chen says, placing the squirming, screaming bundle on Sophia's chest. "Absolutely perfect." Sophia looks down at her daughter for the first time and feels her entire world reorganize around this tiny person. Grace has dark hair plastered to her head, impossibly small fingers that grip Sophia's thumb with surprising strength. Liam's nose and Sophia's eyes, and an expression that suggests she's already forming opinions about this strange new world she's entered. "Hello, my love," Sophia whispers, tears streaming down her face. "Hello, Grace. I'm your mum. I've been waiting so long to meet you." Grace's eyes, unfocused, but searching, seem to find Sophia's face. Her crying quiets to small, questioning sounds, like she's asking, "Is this safe? Are you safe? Can I trust this place you've brought me to?" "Yes," Sophia says, understanding the unspoken questions. "You're safe, baby. You're so loved. You're going to have the most extraordinary life." Vincent stands at Sophia's shoulder, and when Sophia looks up at him, she sees tears streaming down his face without any attempt to hide them. This man who negotiates with world leaders and makes senators nervous is undone by 7 pounds, 3 ounces of possibility, wrapped in a hospital blanket. "Do you want to hold her?" Sophia asks. Vincent's hands shake as he takes his granddaughter. He holds Grace like she's made of glass and dreams, staring down at her with an expression Sophia has never seen on his face. Something beyond love, beyond protection, something that looks almost like reverence. "Hello, Grace Elizabeth," Vincent says, his voice rough. "I'm your grandfather, your grandmother Catherine, my wife, your mother's mother. She would have loved you so much. She would have sung you the songs her mother sang to her." would have taught you to be strong and kind and brave. His voice drops to a whisper. I'm going to try to teach you those things in her place. I'm going to try to be worthy of this gift. Of you. Grace makes a sound, not quite a cry, not quite a coo, and grips Vincent's finger with her tiny hand. And Sophia watches her father fall completely, irrevocably, in love. They stay in the hospital for 2 days. Long enough for Dr. Chen to confirm both Sophia and Grace are healthy and strong. Long enough for Sophia to learn the terrifying choreography of new motherhood, breastfeeding and diaper changes, and the way Grace roots around when she's hungry, making sounds that seem impossibly loud from something so small. Long enough for the reality to settle. This is her life now. Not wife, not victim, but mother. The strongest and most important identity she'll ever hold. Marcus visits on day 2, carrying flowers and a teddy bear that probably costs more than it should. But it's the legal folder he brings that makes Sophia's stomach tighten. Just dotting I's and crossing T's, Marcus assures her, settling into the chair beside her hospital bed, while Grace sleeps in the bassinet. The custody order is filed and active. Liam signed the acknowledgement yesterday. He won't contest it further. The restraining order is in place. You're protected, Sophia. Both of you are. He signed it? Sophia asks, surprised. Without a fight, Marcus confirms. Whatever happened when he came to the estate, it seems to have convinced him that pushing further would only hurt everyone more. He's still in treatment, by the way. Your father made sure of that. Sophia looks at Grace sleeping, at the tiny chest rising and falling with each breath, at the absolute vulnerability of new life. I want to do something, Sophia says suddenly. Something I've been thinking about since the courthouse. Marcus pulls out a notepad, already anticipating. The foundation you mentioned? Yes, Sophia says. But I want to be specific about it. I want it to help women in custody battles who can't afford good representation. Single mothers fighting to keep their children. Families being torn apart by a legal system that favors whoever can pay the most. She looks at Marcus. I want to call it the Catherine Hart Foundation for Family Justice, after my mother. She always said privilege was only meaningful if you used it to level playing fields. This is how I do that. Marcus is already writing. Initial funding? Whatever it takes, Sophia says. I don't want costs to be a barrier. Ever. If a mother needs a lawyer, we provide one. If a family needs an advocate, we send one. I don't want anyone to lose their children because they couldn't afford to fight. Your father will love this, Marcus says with a smile. He's been waiting for you to want to get involved with philanthropy. I'm not doing it because he wants me to, Sophia clarifies. I'm doing it because I had resources to fight, and not everyone does. That's not fair. That's not justice. That's just money determining outcomes. And I want to change that, even if it's just for a few families, even if it's just a start. Marcus nods, still writing. I'll have the foundation papers drawn up by next week. We'll need to establish a board, hire staff, create criteria for assistance. I want to be involved, Sophia interrupts. Not as a figurehead, really involved. I want to interview applicants, review cases, understand what families are going through. Once Grace is old enough, once I've figured out this whole motherhood thing, I want this to be my work, my purpose. She looks down at her sleeping daughter. I want Grace to grow up watching her mother use privilege to help people, not just enjoy it. I want her to understand that what we have comes with responsibility, with obligation, with the requirement to make the world better, not just profit from it. Catherine would be very proud, Marcus says quietly. She'd be proud of the woman you've become, Sophia, the mother you're going to be. After Marcus leaves, Sophia sits alone with Grace, watching her sleep, marveling at the way this tiny person has already changed everything. Her priorities, her purpose, her understanding of what matters. A soft knock at the door interrupts her thoughts. Come in, Sophia calls, expecting Mrs. Chen with more ice water, or Dr. Chen for another checkup. Instead, a nurse enters carrying an enormous bouquet of white roses and blue hydrangeas. The arrangement is stunning, the kind that costs hundreds of dollars and comes from the sort of florist that caters to people who don't look at price tags. "These just arrived for you," the nurse says, setting them on the window ledge. "There's a card." After she leaves, Sophia stares at the flowers for a long moment before reaching for the small envelope tucked between stems. Her hands shake slightly as she opens it. The handwriting is familiar, elegant, definitely not Liam's. "Dear Sophia, congratulations on the birth of Grace. I hope both of you are healthy and safe. I'm writing because I need to say things I should have said at the Christmas party, things I should have said years ago. I was cruel to you. I was threatened by your grace and kindness, by the way my son looked at you like you were precious. I spent 3 years trying to break what you had, because I couldn't stand that he'd found something real without my approval or control. I told myself I was protecting him from a gold digger, but the truth is I was protecting myself from irrelevance, from the reality that my son had grown up and chosen a life I couldn't manipulate. So I poisoned him against you. I planted doubts about your motives. I celebrated your pain at that party because I thought it meant I'd won. I was wrong about everything. You weren't a gold digger, you were an heiress who chose love over status. You weren't trying to trap my son, you were trying to give him the space to be himself. You weren't the problem in that marriage. I was. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I wanted you to know that I understand what I did, what I cost my son, what I cost my family. We lost everything, our home, our reputation, our social standing. But worse than that, we lost Grace. We lost the chance to know her, to love her, to be part of her extraordinary life. That's my fault. Mine alone. Not your father's. Not yours. Not even Liam's. Mine. I hope Grace grows up knowing that her grandmother made terrible mistakes, but understood, eventually, what those mistakes cost. I hope she grows up strong and kind like her mother. And I hope someday, if she asks about me, you'll tell her the truth, that I was cruel, but that I learned too late what really matters. Be well, Sophia. Be happy. Give Grace the life I would have destroyed if your father hadn't stopped me. Vanessa Crawford. Sophia reads the letter 3 times, then carefully folds it and places it in the folder where she's keeping all of Grace's first documents: birth certificate, hospital bracelet. Now this, a letter from a grandmother who will never know her granddaughter, but finally understands why. It doesn't erase the pain, doesn't undo the Christmas party, or the years of cruelty, or the champagne toast to Sophia's humiliation, but it acknowledges it, takes ownership of it. That's something. More than Sophia expected, honestly. She looks at Grace, still sleeping peacefully, unaware of the complicated web of family and betrayal and loss that surrounds her birth. Your father's mother wrote us a letter, Sophia whispers to her daughter. She says she's sorry. I don't know if that's enough, but it's something. And maybe, when you're older, if you ask, I'll show it to you. I'll let you decide what it means. Grace's eyes flutter open for just a moment, that unfocused newborn gaze that seems to see everything and nothing. Then she yawns, a tiny sound that seems impossible from such a small mouth, and drifts back to sleep. Sophia's phone buzzes. A text from her father. Dad, 3:47 p.m. Coming to take you home tomorrow morning. Mrs. Chen has your room ready. Grace's nursery is waiting. Everything is prepared. How are you feeling? Sophia, 3:48 p.m. Tired. Overwhelmed. Grateful. Scared. Happy. All of it at once. Dad, 3:48 p.m. That's called being a mother. You're doing it perfectly. Sophia, 3:49 p.m. Dad, thank you. For everything. For coming to get me that night. For fighting for us. For showing me what real family looks like. Dad, 3:50 p.m. Always. Sweetheart. That's what we do. That's what family means. Sophia sets down her phone and looks around the hospital room. At the flowers from Vanessa. At the teddy bear from Marcus. At the cards from Mrs. Chen and Dr. Chen, and even Howard, her father's attorney, who sent a note that said simply, "Congratulations on your victory, both in court and in life." Victory. Is that what this is? Sophia thinks about the word as she watches Grace sleep. She thinks about Liam, alone, in a 1-bedroom apartment, working 3 jobs to survive. About Vanessa, writing letters of apology from a rental she can barely afford. About a family destroyed by their own cruelty, and her father's precision response. It doesn't feel like victory. It feels like survival. Like coming through fire and finding something worth protecting on the other side. Not revenge. Not triumph. Just life. Continuing. Changing. Moving forward despite everything that tried to stop it. We're going to be okay, Sophia whispers to Grace. Better than okay. We're going to build something beautiful. You and me and Grandpa. We're going to show the world what it looks like when you choose healing over bitterness. When you use power to protect instead of destroy. When you turn pain into purpose. Grace makes a small sound in her sleep. Agreement, maybe. Or just gas. Hard to tell with newborns. Sophia smiles despite her exhaustion. Outside the hospital window, Hartford glows with evening light. Traffic moves on streets below. Life continues in its messy, complicated, beautiful way. People fight and love and hurt and heal and somehow keep going despite everything. And in this hospital room, in this moment, Sophia Hart sits with her newborn daughter and feels something she hasn't felt in years. Not happiness. Exactly. Not yet. That will come later, she thinks, in moments she can't predict. When Grace laughs for the first time, when she takes her first steps in the Hart Estate gardens, when she grows into the person she's meant to become. But peace. Definitely peace. The kind of peace that comes from surviving something that tried to destroy you and choosing to build something beautiful from the ashes. The kind of peace that whispers, "You're safe now. You both are. The hard part is over." And maybe that's not entirely true. Motherhood will bring its own challenges, its own fears, its own moments of doubt. But the hardest part, the part where Sophia didn't know if she could survive, if she was strong enough, if she deserved better than what Liam offered, that part is done. Grace kicks slightly in her sleep, her face scrunching up in an expression that looks almost like determination. "You're going to be stubborn, aren't you?" Sophia says with a soft laugh. "Just like your mother. Just like your grandmother, Catherine. Strong women running through your DNA like steel threads." She reaches into the bassinet and carefully traces Grace's tiny features. The nose that's Liam's, the eyes that are hers, the chin that might be Vincent's. A whole person, assembled from fragments of family, carrying forward stories she doesn't know yet but will someday understand. "Your story doesn't start with betrayal," Sophia whispers. "It starts with love, with a mother who fought for you, a grandfather who protected you, a great-grandmother whose memory guides us. That's your inheritance, Grace. Not money, not status. Love. Real, unconditional, unwavering love." Grace's hand finds Sophia's finger and grips it with surprising strength. And in that moment, Sophia understands something her mother tried to tell her years ago, something she couldn't comprehend until now. The people who hurt you don't define your story. They're just chapters, sometimes painful chapters, sometimes chapters that teach you who you don't want to be. But you get to write the ending. You get to decide what comes next. And Sophia is choosing light, choosing purpose, choosing to turn her pain into something that helps other women who might be standing where she stood, signing divorce papers while pregnant, believing they're alone, not knowing that survival is possible, and strength comes in forms you don't expect. "We're going to be extraordinary," Sophia tells her daughter. "Not because of what we have, because of what we choose to do with it." Grace yawns again, milk-drunk and content. And outside the hospital room, the world continues. Liam continues. Vanessa continues. The Crawford family continues, rebuilding from ruins of their own creation. But that's their story now. This is Sophia's. And Grace's. And it's just beginning. The nurse comes in to check vitals one more time before the night shift. Mrs. Chen arrives with dinner. That's definitely not hospital food. Something warm and nourishing that tastes like home. Vincent calls to say goodnight, his voice soft, with the wonder of new grandfatherhood. And through it all, Grace sleeps peacefully in her bassinet, unaware that she's the center of something transformative. unaware that her arrival has rewritten futures and closed chapters and opened doors to possibilities her mother is still learning to imagine. But she'll know someday, when she's old enough to understand. Sophia will tell her the whole story, the betrayal, the survival, the choice to heal instead of harbor bitterness. She'll tell Grace about the Christmas party and the courthouse, and the moment Liam stood in the Hart estate asking for forgiveness he couldn't earn. But more importantly, she'll tell Grace about the foundation, about the women they helped, about using privilege to level playing fields and protect families who deserved advocates. That's the story Grace will inherit. Not revenge, but resilience. Not destruction, but determination. Not bitterness, but the fierce, unwavering love of women who survive and choose to build something beautiful from the ashes. And that, Sophia thinks as she finally lets herself drift towards sleep, is a story worth telling. A story worth living. A story worth passing on. Grace Elizabeth Hart's story. And it's going to be extraordinary. 18 months later. The Catherine Hart Foundation for Family Justice occupies the entire third floor of a renovated building in downtown Hartford. Floor-to-ceiling windows let in light that makes everything feel possible. Modern furniture in warm tones. Conference rooms named after women who fought impossible battles and won. A waiting area designed to feel safe, instead of institutional soft chairs. Children's toys. Tissues placed discreetly within reach. This is where hope lives now. Sophia stands at the window of her office, Grace balanced on her hip, watching the city wake up below. Her daughter is 18 months old now, all dark curls and opinions, babbling in the half-language of toddlers who understand more than they can say. She points at a bus passing below and makes her approximation of the word, buh. Yes, baby, Sophia says, kissing the top of Grace's head. That's a bus. Very good. Grace squirms to be put down, and Sophia sets her carefully on the floor, where a play area has been established in the corner of the office. Blocks and books and toys that educational consultants promised would stimulate development. Grace immediately ignores all of them and makes a beeline for Sophia's desk, determined to rearrange the papers there. Grace Elizabeth Hart, Sophia says with mock sternness. Those are Mama's important documents. Grace looks up with an expression of pure innocence that she definitely inherited from somewhere in the Crawford gene pool, because Sophia was never that good at looking blameless. A knock at the door interrupts the standoff. Come in, Sophia calls. Elena Rodriguez enters, the Foundation's Director of Legal Services, carrying a tablet and looking both exhausted and energized, in the way that means she's been working through the night on a case that matters. She's 35, brilliant, and spent 5 years as a public defender before Sophia recruited her with an offer that included actual resources and the promise of changing lives. We won the Mitchell case, Elena says, without preamble, a smile breaking across her face. Judge ruled in our favor an hour ago. Full custody to the mother, supervised visitation for the father. And this is the best part, the judge cited our brief in his decision. Said it was the most comprehensive documentation of abuse patterns he'd seen in 20 years on the bench. Sophia's hand flies to her mouth. Jennifer gets to keep her kids? All 3 of them, Elena confirms. She's in the waiting room right now, crying. I thought you'd want to tell her yourself. Sophia scoops up Grace, who protests with a squawk because she wasn't done investigating desk papers, and follows Elena out of the office. The Foundation is already bustling despite the early hour. Lawyers reviewing cases, advocates making calls, the quiet machinery of justice being accessible to people who couldn't afford it before. In the waiting room, Jennifer Mitchell sits with her hands pressed to her face, her shoulders shaking. She's 28, works 2 jobs, and spent the last 6 months fighting her ex-husband's custody petition, with evidence that the Foundation's investigators helped her gather. Evidence that might have been impossible to collect without resources she didn't have. Jennifer, Sophia says softly. The woman looks up, and her face transforms when she sees Sophia. Is it true? Elena said. I won, but I'm afraid to believe it. I'm afraid if I believe it, it'll turn out to be wrong. Sophia sits beside her, Grace immediately reaching for Jennifer's face, with sticky toddler hands, in the way children do when they sense someone needs comfort. It's true, Sophia says firmly. You won. Your kids are safe. You're keeping them. Jennifer breaks down completely then, sobbing with relief so profound it's physical. Sophia holds her while she cries. This stranger who isn't a stranger anymore. This woman who's part of a growing network of mothers who fought impossible battles and survived because someone gave them the tools they needed. Thank you, Jennifer gasps between sobs. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I don't know how to. I can never repay. You don't repay it, Sophia interrupts gently. You pass it forward. Someday, when you're stable and safe and your kids are grown, you help the next woman who's where you are now. That's how this works. Jennifer nods, wiping her eyes, already looking stronger than she did 30 seconds ago, already looking like a woman who survived and will never forget what that cost. Grace, bored with the emotional display, squirms out of Sophia's arms and toddles over to the toy box, pulling out blocks with intense concentration. She's beautiful, Jennifer says, watching Grace play. How old? 18 months, Sophia says. And stubborn as hell. She gets that from her grandfather. Jennifer laughs through her tears. I read about you, you know. When I first came here, I googled the foundation and found articles about your divorce, about what you went through. Sophia tenses slightly. The articles still exist. She can't erase them, can't take back the public nature of her pain. But she's learned to live with it, to let it be part of her story instead of the defining feature. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Sophia says quietly. But I'm glad something good came from it. This place, the work we do, that's what matters now. You could have just taken your father's money and disappeared, Jennifer says. You could have hidden behind your privilege and never thought about women like me again. But you didn't. You built this instead. Why? Sophia looks at Grace, stacking blocks with fierce determination, her face scrunched in concentration. She thinks about the story her daughter will inherit, the example she's setting, the world she's trying to build, where privilege comes with responsibility, instead of just comfort. Because I had resources to fight, Sophia says simply, and not everyone does. That's not fair. That's not justice. So I'm trying to make it more fair, one family at a time. Later that afternoon, Sophia sits in her father's study at the Hart estate. Grace naps in the nursery upstairs, finally exhausted after a morning of helping at the foundation by rearranging everything she could reach. Vincent reviews quarterly reports while Sophia nurses a cup of tea and tries not to think about the meeting scheduled for tomorrow. You're nervous, Vincent observes, without looking up from his tablet. About the interview. Tomorrow, a documentary crew is coming to film Sophia for a piece about the foundation, about using personal tragedy as catalyst for social change, about privilege and responsibility and the ways money can be weaponized or utilized depending on who's holding it. I don't want to talk about Liam, Sophia says. I know that's what they want. The dramatic story, the betrayal, the revenge narrative. But that's not what this is about anymore. Then tell them that, Vincent says, setting down his tablet. Tell them the foundation exists, because you understand what it's like to need help and have access to it. Tell them you're trying to make that access universal, instead of dependent on bank accounts. You don't owe anyone the details of your pain, Sophia, just the purpose you built from it. Sophia nods, but her hands still shake slightly around her teacup. How is he? She asks suddenly. Liam, you've been monitoring the treatment facility payments. Is he getting better? Vincent is quiet for a moment. They don't talk about Liam often. By unspoken agreement, he's become a ghost in their conversations, acknowledged but not examined, present in absence. He's stable, Vincent says carefully. The facility reports he's engaged with therapy, working on the substance abuse issues, participating in job training programs. He writes letters to Grace. Sophia's head snaps up. What? Letters he never sends, Vincent clarifies quickly. Part of his therapeutic process, writing to her about what he wishes he could say. The facility director mentioned it during a progress review. They're encouraging him to process his grief about losing her. Does he ask to see her? Sophia's voice is barely a whisper. No, Vincent says firmly. He understands the boundaries, the restraining order, the custody ruling. Whatever else is broken in him, he seems to understand that much. He's grieving, Sophia. But he's not fighting. Not anymore. Sophia sets down her teacup and walks to the window overlooking the gardens where Grace will play tomorrow if the weather holds. Where she'll grow up safe and loved and completely unaware that somewhere across the city, a man she's never met writes her letters he'll never send. Is that cruel? Sophia asks. Keeping her from him? He's getting help. He's trying to be better. Maybe. No, Vincent interrupts, his voice harder than it's been in months. Sophia. No. He demanded paternity tests. He celebrated divorcing you at a Christmas party. He threw you away when you were pregnant, because his pride mattered more than his family. Getting therapy doesn't erase that. Getting sober doesn't undo it. He stands and moves to stand beside her at the window. Grace deserves a father who wanted her from the beginning, who fought for her, who chose her even when it was hard. Liam isn't that father. He might become a better person, I hope he does, but that doesn't mean he gets access to Grace. That's not how consequences work. But when she's older, Sophia starts. When she's 18, if she wants to find him, that's her choice, Vincent says. Just like the judge ruled. But until then, your job is to protect her, not to rehabilitate him. Sophia nods slowly, knowing he's right, but feeling the weight of it anyway. The weight of being the one who decides, the one who holds power over whether a father knows his daughter. I got another letter, Sophia says quietly, from Vanessa. She sends them every few months, always to the foundation, never to the estate, always apologizing, always asking if there's any way. What do you want to do about it? Vincent asks. Sophia thinks about the letters, carefully worded, clearly therapist-assisted, expressing regret and responsibility and the desire to know Grace. She thinks about Vanessa Crawford, once so cruel and confident, now humbled by consequences she never saw coming. I want to file them away, Sophia says. Keep them for Grace. Let her decide someday if her grandmother's apologies matter, if she wants a relationship with people who hurt her mother. That should be Grace's choice, not mine. That's very generous, Vincent observes. It's not generous, Sophia corrects. It's just, I don't want Grace's story to be defined by my pain. I want her to have all the information and make her own choices about forgiveness and family and what those words mean. She turns from the window to face her father. You raised me to think for myself, to question everything, to not just accept the narratives I was handed. I want to do the same for Grace. Even if that means someday she might choose relationships with people I've cut out of my life. Vincent's eyes shine with tears he doesn't hide anymore. Not since Grace was born. Not since he held his granddaughter and felt his heart reorganize around this tiny person who carries forward his wife's name and their shared hope for better futures. Catherine would be so proud of you, he says. The woman you've become, the mother you are, the way you're choosing to build instead of destroy. A cry from upstairs interrupts the moment. Grace, awake from her nap and announcing her displeasure at being alone. I'll get her, Sophia says, already moving toward the door. She probably needs a snack, and a diaper change, and possibly to rearrange every item on the changing table, because that's her current obsession. Sophia, Vincent calls after her. She turns. You're doing it right. Motherhood, the foundation, all of it. I hope you know that. Some days, Sophia says honestly. Some days I know it. Other days I'm terrified I'm screwing everything up. But I guess that's parenthood, right? Constant fear, mixed with moments of perfect clarity. That's exactly what it is, Vincent confirms with a smile. Your mother felt the same way. Every parent does. The fear means you care. The clarity means you're paying attention. You're doing fine, sweetheart. 6 months later. The documentary premieres on a Tuesday evening in autumn, when the Hart estate gardens blaze with colour. Vincent hosts a small viewing party, just family and foundation staff, people who understand what this project means beyond the public narrative. Sophia sits on the couch with Grace curled against her side, half asleep after a long day of being a very busy 2-year-old. Marcus and Elena are there. Mrs. Chen, who's become Grace's honorary grandmother, Dr. Chen, who delivered Grace and has watched her thrive. The documentary is called The Cost of Justice, and it's not what Sophia expected. Yes, it tells her story. The hidden identity, the betrayal, the Christmas party divorce. But it weaves that narrative through interviews with other women. The foundation has helped. Jennifer Mitchell, speaking about how resources changed her custody battle. A woman named Maria Garcia, who kept her children safe from an abusive ex-husband because the foundation provided security consultants. A single mother named Ashley Wright, whose lawyer fees were covered when she had nothing. And through all of it, Sophia's interview segments asking the same question, different ways. Why should justice be more accessible to people who can afford it? Why should your bank account determine whether you keep your children? The final segment shows the foundation's first anniversary celebration. Shows Sophia holding Grace while cutting a ribbon on the expanded office space. Shows Vincent making a speech about his wife's legacy and his daughter's courage. And then, the narrator's voice. The Catherine Hart Foundation for Family Justice has helped 127 families in its first 18 months. It secured custody for 94 mothers who might have lost their children without adequate legal representation. It's provided safety resources, therapy services, job training, and housing assistance. It's turned one woman's pain into 127 families' protection. And it's just beginning. The screen fades to black, and Sophia realizes she's crying. Not from sadness, from something else. Something that feels like purpose realized. Like pain transformed into something that matters. That was perfect, Elena says, wiping her own eyes. That was exactly what we hoped for. The phone's going to explode tomorrow. Marcus observes, already thinking strategically. Donations, applications for assistance, media requests. We need to be ready to scale up. We'll be ready, Vincent says firmly. Whatever it takes. This is too important not to get right. Grace stirs against Sophia's side and looks up with sleepy eyes. Mama? All done? All done, baby, Sophia confirms. Time for bed. She carries Grace upstairs to the nursery, to the room Vincent built with hope before Sophia came home. Grace's crib has been replaced with a toddler bed now, decorated with stuffed animals and books and the detritus of a childhood that's safe and loved and completely normal despite the extraordinary circumstances surrounding it. Sophia changes Grace into pajamas, a process that involves more negotiation than it should, because Grace has opinions about which pajamas she wants and they don't match Sophia's choices. How about the ones with moons? Sophia suggests. No, stars, Grace insists, pointing at the pajamas with stars and planets. Stars it is. Sophia agrees, because this is a battle, not worth fighting. Once Grace is changed and settled with her favourite stuffed elephant, Sophia sits on the edge of the toddler bed and smooths dark curls back from her daughter's forehead. Can I tell you something? Sophia asks. Grace nods, already half asleep, but fighting it the way toddlers do. You saved me, Sophia whispers. When I was very sad and very lost, you saved me. Just by existing. Just by needing me to be strong for you. Do you understand? Saved, Mama, Grace repeats sleepily, not really understanding, but knowing the words are important. That's right, Sophia says. You saved Mama, and now Mama gets to spend every day making sure you grow up knowing how loved you are, how special, how absolutely extraordinary. Night-night, Mama, Grace mumbles, already drifting off. Good night, my love, Sophia whispers. Sweet dreams. She sits there for a long moment, watching her daughter sleep, marvelling at the way this tiny person reorganized her entire world, the way Grace's existence forced Sophia to be brave when she wanted to hide, to fight when she wanted to surrender, to build something meaningful from the ruins of what tried to destroy her. Downstairs, the documentary viewing party has transitioned to quiet conversation, to planning for the Foundation's future, to talking about the families they'll help next, the systems they'll try to change, the small ways they can make justice more accessible. Sophia's phone buzzes in her pocket. She checks it, expecting a message from Vincent or Elena. Instead, it's from an unknown number. Her finger hovers over the delete button. She's blocked Liam, blocked all the Crawfords, has no interest in whatever manipulation might be coming her way. But something makes her open it. Unknown. 9:47 p.m. I watched the documentary. You're doing extraordinary things. Grace is lucky to have you. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. For all of it. And I'm grateful you're using what happened to help others. That's more grace than I deserve. L. Sophia stares at the message for a long moment. Liam, watching from wherever he is now. Seeing what she's built. Acknowledging, finally, not what he lost, but what she's become, despite losing him. She could respond, could say thank you, or it doesn't matter, or any of the 100 things that crowd her mind. Instead, she deletes the message and blocks the number. Not from anger, not from bitterness, just from understanding that this chapter is closed, that Liam's journey toward becoming a better person is his own to walk, and she doesn't need to be part of it. Doesn't owe him absolution or acknowledgement or any of the closure he might be seeking. She went through fire and came out stronger. That's her story now. And Grace's. And the 127 families they've helped, and the hundreds more they will help. That's what matters. Sophia turns off the nursery light and walks back downstairs to her family. To her father and Mrs. Chen and the foundation staff who've become more than colleagues, they've become her tribe. Her people. The ones who show up when things are hard and celebrate when things are good. Everything okay? Vincent asks when she appears. Everything's perfect, Sophia says, and means it. Later that night, after everyone has gone home and Grace is sleeping peacefully upstairs and the estate is quiet, with a particular silence that feels like safety, Sophia sits in her mother's favourite chair in the library. Catherine Hart's photograph watches from the mantel. Beautiful, wise, gone too soon but somehow still present in every choice Sophia makes. I hope I'm doing you proud, Mom, Sophia whispers to the photograph. I hope you're watching Grace grow up. I hope you know that everything you taught me about strength and kindness, and using privilege responsibly, I'm trying to pass it all down to her. The photograph doesn't answer, but Sophia imagines she hears her mother's voice anyway. You're doing better than proud, darling. You're doing extraordinary. Outside, snow begins to fall over the Hart estate, the first snow of the season, covering everything in white, making the world look clean and new. And inside, Sophia sits alone with her mother's memory, and her daughter sleeping upstairs, and the knowledge that she survived something that tried to destroy her. Not just survived, thrived, built something meaningful from the ashes, turned pain into purpose. And maybe that's not the story she would have chosen if she'd known what it would cost. But it's the story she has, and it's pretty damn extraordinary. Grace will understand someday, when she's old enough to hear the whole truth. When she asks about her father and why he's not in her life and whether the choices Sophia made were right. And Sophia will tell her everything. The good and the bad and the complicated truth that sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who teach you what really matters. But she'll also tell Grace this. You survived. We survived. And we used what tried to break us to build something that protects others. That's not revenge. That's resilience. That's grace. And that's the inheritance worth passing down. Sophia's journey reminds us of a powerful truth. The people who try to break you are often the ones who accidentally set you free. True wealth isn't found in a family name or a bank account. It's found in the courage it takes to protect your heart and the strength to build a future from the ashes of betrayal. Liam and the Crawfords didn't just lose a daughter-in-law. They lost the chance to witness the greatness that Sophia was already carrying within her. So, if you've ever felt like a ghost in your own life, or if you've been told you weren't enough by people too blind to see your worth, remember Sophia Hart. Sometimes, being cast out of the wrong house is exactly what you need to find your way back to your own palace. Now, I want to hear from you. Where are you joining us from tonight? Whether you're watching from the lights of New York, the streets of London, the heart of Toronto, or anywhere else in the world, drop your city or country in the comments right now. I read every single one, and I love seeing our global family grow. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that your comeback is always stronger than your setback, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. You belong here in the lounge, and I don't want you to miss a single moment of the magic we're creating together. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Remember, you are never powerless, and you are always enough. The best revenge isn't anger, it's living a life so beautiful they can only watch from the outside. I'm Elena, and I'll see you in our next story.